Joe, do you mind if I open this episode by not addressing topical or current issues at all, and instead telling you a dumb anecdote about a thing I saw in college, and I was just like, oh, I'll remember this.
I prefer that over virus facts. Go for it.
Virus fact number 1. The virus is bad. We hate it. We don't like it. Go away. Okay, here's the deal. Imagine, if you will, it's, 2008, maybe 2009. Life is like 10,000 times better than it is now, even though it was in a crushing depression. But it was a crushing depression where, like, if you were next to someone, you didn't have a panic attack. I mean, you might, but
Yeah.
it would be something that you, like, got treatment for and not a rational response.
It's not pleasant to think that 2008 was probably the high point of my life.
Anyway, I'm a little baby boy. And so I'm in college, yeah? And in college at DePaul, they had a lot of elective credits where you could just take any fucking class they offered and it would count towards you graduating. Which in retrospect, fuck that. And I hate them for doing that because as a result, they took many dumb classes for drunk babies. It sucked, and fuck you, DePaul. Anyway, so what I was taking was a photography class. Joe, just to answer your question, to head you off the path, no, I did not learn photography. I'd never taken a good picture. And also, I don't like photography.
Yeah, you never brought it up, ever. So clearly, nothing stuck with you.
Nothing stuck with me. Yeah. Like, everyone's like, post your latest selfie. And I'm like, I haven't taken a picture of myself in 3 years. Like, what? Huh? Who's taking selfies? Anyway, I'm in this fucking class. Yeah, it's very bad. It's very dumb. I'm wasting my time and learning nothing. This is going to be a theme if I ever talk more about DePaul. But this is where I'm at. So I'm one day at this class, and it's sort of far enough in that I know not to expect much. I know that the class is going to suck and be bad. And then one day, the professor is like, okay, well, the next project we're going to need to do like a series, like a photo series. And I want you to do it an online portfolio. So you're going to need to learn how to do that. Please use this website. He showed us a website that completely sucks, that no one uses and is defunct now. Like all things in DePaul, the things that they showed us to do were already out of date and stupid, and it was a bad mistake to do them.
Except for the Excel class.
Yes.
That was the most important thing.
I think everyone else took like a slightly different class than me because I actually took a Microsoft Access class.
Yeah, I did too.
Excel class.
No, I did too. Which is great because right after I entered the workforce, the Microsoft Office suite removed Access as an enterprise entity. So I had this skill that I will never get to use.
I mean, it did have very similar, I might say even identical functions to Excel.
Yeah, there was overlap, but I really thought I was learning something.
Yeah. Like, I knew how, like, when it became time to use Excel and it was, like, sum these cells, I'm like, I feel like I have a sense memory of how to do this. But, okay, so I'm in this fucking class, and they want us to open up an account on this online photo portfolio website. So I do that. It's easy. And I sort of finish up, and I don't know what to do, because everyone else is taking a long time to do it. I'm waiting, and I let my eyes wander. They pass over some screens, and I notice the kid sitting next to me, and I notice what's on his screen. It's not anything, like, terrible. It's the site he's supposed to be signing up for. I have looked on screens and seen things that have been fucked. At my previous job, I was looking at screens, and a guy who sat, like, 4 away from me was just looking at a video of 2 girls in underwear kissing, just, like, in front of everyone. And he wasn't, like, doing anything. He didn't, like, look lascivious. He was just sort of, like, looking at it like, yeah.
Just taking it in.
That's all beside the point. I'm belaboring the point here. I need to get to the meat. The meat is this kid, who I pretty much had no sort of opinion on. He looked very normal, acted normal. He was entering his email address. And I'll never forget what it was. Because it was, and I'm not joking, it was Skunk Nasties 69.
That's the fun. Yeah. You have never said funnier sounds coming out of your mouth. That is the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Joe, skunk nasties. As nasty as a skunk, 69. And here's the thing. Nasties, spelled. I'll spell it for you so that there's no doubt in your mind. N-A-S-T-E-E-Z.
This is a king mindset.
It truly is. And like,
Like, okay, when I taught, like, you get everyone's email in the roster, so like, you see the picture of the person, and then like next to it, to his head, like countless professors saw the phrase "skunk nasty 69" next to his head. Like when I taught, like I saw some like pretty like funny emails. It's always kind of funny because like people were like, "Did you get the memo that you got to switch to a professional thing yet?" My favorite one I had, a girl's name was Corona Fairy 69. Again, it was 69. Like everyone's in agreement it's the funniest number.
It is. Wait, Corona. This was like pre-virus.
Yeah, like what did she know?
Oh my god.
Which of course, like, it's a funny email address because like that when you're 18, that's the concept of a fancy beer. Like that's like the most exciting thing you could do is have a Corona and put a fucked up lime in it.
The thing about skunk nasties that kills me, and like this is something that I've seen like across a number of men of an age, my age unfortunately, is that like the idea of presenting yourself as like stinky and smelly, a yucky skunk, like as like a point of sexual pride. Where'd that come from, huh?
Honestly, this is why Tim Robinson is addicted to the phrase dripping hogs. Like he's just like anything that is gross and dripping as a point of pride is just the funniest shit in the world.
Yeah. Fuck, we should tell Tim Robinson about skunk nasties.
It sounds like a thing he would say while getting very upset.
Someone would tell him that like you can't use skunk nasty 69 as your business email, and then he'd like start yelling about like how it's been my email since I was a teenager and it was good enough then.
Yep, and it would go on too long. Hello and welcome to Anime Sickos, the podcast for geniuses, the podcast about the 4 pillars of modern misery: gaming, anime posting, and jobs. I am Joe, an anime sicko.
I am Tom, an anime sicko.
So Tom and I will watch stuff together with the intention of like doing an episode about it or for a project, but rarely do we just end up coincidentally watching the same anime at the same time, and that's how we both got through recently Tower of God, the anime. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit, but before we get into Tower of God, we need to get into the anime mindset, because we haven't done like a deep dive in a while. So I think the best way for us to sort of like get loose and get in the right frame of mind is we just got to read some shit from the Fate wiki.
Of course, dude. I'm way ahead of you. I've been waiting to do this. I have the page open right now. Can I go? Am I ready to go?
I got mine picked out too, but you can go first.
All right. So I noticed that a lot of Fate wiki articles were referring to thaumaturgy with no sort of explanation. So I decided to look that up, and what I got was a page called Magecraft. And I'm going to just fucking read you the third paragraph. There exists no impossibility for modern magecraft within the rules of the world and limits of human intellect, semicolon. There are limitations, however, where it only appears that something is possible. Because magecraft acts as the reenactment of pre-existing phenomena, it is impossible to use it to create new mysteries, semicolon. Even with an infinite amount of research, there exists a, in quotation marks, wall preventing human wisdom from doing so in the current era. The realm past this, in quotation marks, wall, is known as magic.
Okay, all that insane shit you just said, like, how does that affect the story? How does that come up?
Dude, literally not at fucking all.
Like, one of the Grail Wars, someone was just like,
I love to create new mysteries.
yes, there's not enough of them. I'm gonna make some, and then the Grail like killed them because they didn't know the rules.
Joe, just so you know, in case you were confused and didn't know, the word mysteries, capital M, that's a proper noun.
Hell yes. Well, speaking of the Grail, because it's the whole fucking show, I went to the Holy Grail page. Because the Holy Grail, as we mentioned on the episode where we talked about it, it's really important. What exactly it is, very unclear. And I'm about to read some shit that is going to take whatever information and assumptions you had about the Grail and show you that it was wrong. So here we go. This is under the Nature and Power subsection of the Holy Grail. What is handed down in the city of Fuyuki is not the one that received the blood of Christ, but the prototype of an even more ancient, omnipotent container.
Container?
This container is the 726th Grail that sticks to the legend of its name.
Sticks to!
It is a gate that leads to the root, Akasha, a hole connected to the nuclear core, also known as the Greater Grail. A wish machine, the key to start up the Great Grail.
The Greater Grail is the key to start up the Great Grail.
Yeah, the thing they're fighting over is just like the smallest Russian nesting doll. It is not an omnipotent container, but a replica created to work like a wish machine that can bring forth one's own will.
It doesn't make sense. What the fuck are they talking about?
You definitely gotta click on Akasha, aka the root.
Yeah, so I clicked on that shit show. I clicked on it, as you say. And what that brings up is a page not called Akasha. It is called Swirl of the Root. There is a picture that is subtitled Swirl of the Root. It is completely fucking white, except for a little blue lens flare in the middle. Very illuminating. And here is the beginning of this fucking page. The swirl of the root, also known as the root, the Akashic records, or occasionally heaven, is a metaphysical location within the Nasu-verse, which is the fictional universe of fate, that acts as the, in quotation marks, force that exists at the top of all theories in every dimension, as well as the source of all events and phenomena in the universe.
Huh. I'm seeing here that is also referred to as the outside of the world, as opposed to the world and the reverse side of the world. Fuck. All right. Well, I'm ready to talk about Tower of God now. I have the right mindset.
Yeah, we're in anime mode. This all is starting to make sense to me. I'm internalizing this. This actually was the normalest shit we've ever said on this show. The show finally got normal. We've been fucked the whole time up to this.
Tom, do you want to start us off about the anime? I would describe the show as just a Hunter x Hunter speed run.
It is definitely a Hunter x Hunter any % speed run. And, like, to the point where, like, you can tell, like, the plot is clipping through the fucking level architecture at some points.
Yeah, there's definitely some characters that are T-posing in the background.
Okay, so this is a 13-episode season of anime. It is the first ever Japanese-produced anime, I think, that was based on a Korean source material. It was based on a webtoon comic. It's like the Korean style, so instead of turning the pages, it's just like it's like a receipt paper. It's like a CVS receipt, and you just keep scrolling down. But yeah, this show is like if you put Hunter x Hunter into a fucking dehydrator, crushed it into a powder, and then like put all the powder in a coffee cup and like filled the cup up halfway, and you were like, did I put enough water in? And they're like, oh no, that was supposed to be for 100 cups.
Man. So the part that you and I joke about, like off mic all the time in Hunter x Hunter, is the part in the battle tower where Gon and Killua get to the part where they need to learn Nen, and they're just stopped by people who can be purple.
Yeah, Hisoka just beats purple at them, and they're like, oh no.
Yeah, and that's where they learn that, like, eventually some homies be purple, and, like, that means you're powerful. So the purple test takes place probably about, like, after 12 hours of show.
It's like episode, like, 40.
Right. The equivalent of the purple test in Tower of God is you have to walk through a wall of water, and that shit happens the start of episode 2.
Yup. Like 30 minutes. If you binge it, 30 minutes in, the fucking purple test occurs. And like the whole thing, like we're not joking. We're not like being reductive to say that this is a Hunter x Hunter speedrun, because like what is... It's specifically the Hunter exam, because the start of Hunter x Hunter, they're just like, oh, we want to be hunters because being hunters is the thing to do. It's in the fucking title. It's the thing that we do. And to do that, you go in a weird test where there's a series of crazy challenges. And like part of passing the challenge is realizing like, what are they actually testing? Because like they'll tell you the rules, but that's not actually what they're testing. You have to like discover what they really want you to do. And then that lasts for a while, and then it just gets fucking nuts.
The while, scrubs are dying around you.
Like, you're running around thinking about, like, I wonder what he meant when he said that. And, like, a guy next to you falls in a pit and gets impaled by a spike.
Right.
So this is just, like, the whole fucking series is that there's a tower. There be a tower. It's where everyone in the world lives. And it's not like a building like how we would know. Like, a floor of the tower is like a continent. And it has, like, outside in it. Like, the whole tower is full of this, like, weird water called Shinsu, which is what they have to walk through. They have to walk through a wall of water for the purple test. Because,
and
like...
Shinsu is water Nen.
Yeah,
like, it's
fucking,
water Nen.
It's 1,000% Nen, in that it's a very complicated but, like, sort of meaningless, abstract power. But, like, you can use it to become a superhero and like have powers and shit, but like it's also just water. Like the fact that there's like a sky and a sun is like, oh, that's just Shinsu being an illusion so that we can see.
Yeah, everything is condensed water vibes.
Yeah, so you got to get up the tower because at the top of the tower, homies are purple, and also apparently if you get to the tippy top, you get a wish. It's like the Grail, not the Greater Grail. Well, maybe it's the Greater Grail. It is sort of an omnipotent container.
One of the things about Hunter x Hunter is that there's a world where the Hunter Association exists in. This solves that problem by making the Hunter exam the world. Like, it's if you imagine if Gon left the Hunter exam and then he like clipped through the floor and just died in space.
Yeah, he went out of bounds. You're not supposed to actually do that. We didn't program that part of the game. You're just supposed to take the test forever.
Yes. That is what the world of Tower of God is. And if it seems like we're ragging on it, I want to be clear. We love this shit.
It's so fucking good. And like, it's really stupid. And it's so much of a Hunter x Hunter speedrun. But here's the thing about Hunter x Hunter is that we love it. So if there's more of it,
yeah, and this
good.
And this show and comic might end. So like, it's maybe better.
Possible, yeah. Another reason that this show was Hunter x Hunter is that the main characters are Gon and Killua from Hunter x Hunter,
yes.
But again?
Yes. The Killua analog is another white-haired boy from a prominent family that disowned him.
Like Killua, he's like a genius who's like really good at stuff and is very smart and calculating, but also is like a heart of gold friend who'd do anything for his main buddy Gon.
Yes, because the show moves so fast, you don't get to watch these two individuals become mentally married. So it's not quite like the same deep relationship in the first 13 episodes that quickly gets established in Hunter x Hunter, but His hair's fucking white. Like he looks the same. He's white hair, but he has like a. Is the blue thing his hair, or is he just have like a head earring?
So, okay, so he has a fucking blue triangle stuck to the side of his head for no reason, and like you'd be forgiven for thinking what you're thinking, Joe, but you'll forget that during the crown game, he puts his hair up with his bandana, at which point everyone watching the show says, that was a bandana.
Oh, is that what that fucking was? Okay, I didn't even notice.
It was.
The blue triangle is how you know it's not Killua.
And the Gon, our main character, is Bam, who is a sort of perfect, empty-headed child of God who cannot conceive of malice. He just can't imagine that anyone would be anything but open and giving, and believes the best of everyone, and would do anything for anyone who asked. So fucking Gon, Gon, and also
with
like Gon,
absolute freak potential. Like it just
exactly
a complete untapped massive reservoir of anime power.
Mm-hmm. Like pretty early on, he just subconsciously like uses a Shinsu power, which like you're not supposed to do until you've been like training in the tower for like 100 years. Also, when you're in the tower, you don't die. Everyone's very old.
Yes.
Unless you get fucking killed.
Yeah.
In which case you would in fact die.
Yeah. The first test of the Tower of God, literally the second episode, is basically like the Hunger Games. It's like there's 400 people. When there's 200 people left, then you move to the next stage, and people die. Also, some people get shoved in not Killua's magic Felix bag. He has like this bag that duplicates objects, and also you can put anything into it.
And he's just like, a lot of people killing right now. You know what would be very smart is if instead of killing people, I made homies who owed me something. So I'll get in my baggie.
Yes.
Well, the tests are all fucking inscrutable, and like they all have a hidden meaning, because once the 200 people are left, a loudspeaker is like, all right, time for test number 2. This test is a 5-minute limit. You have to form a team. You have to find 3 people to be your team. And like the only people who are like nearby to become the people who are in your team are the people you were just trying to murder prior to the fucking 200 people limit getting hit. So you're like, sorry about the murder. Want to be my buddy forever.
Right. And if you're wondering if that team of 3 is very important, no, after that test, that fucking goes away. That's sort of the feel of the anime. That is, it's entertaining in this sort of manic way, where like it's really asking you to consume a lot of information. What Hunter x Hunter does is whenever it's dealing with like a narrative concept that is complex, they just have an episode where a guy tells you everything. Like there's just a narration of how Nen works. There's a narration of how the Chimera ants work. It's just like, I'm gonna read you the lore now, basically.
Like, have you ever gone on YouTube because like you've downloaded a new piece of software and you're like, how do I do video editing? And you like look at like a 15-minute video that's like introduction to video editing for OpenShot, and I'm like, cool. Like that, like fucking Hunter x Hunter has like 5 of those in the show.
And there is nothing quite equivalent happening in Tower of God. Also made worse by the fact that there's like too many fucking characters.
Seriously, fucking yes. And another thing is that like, in a lot of series where there's like a different species, like they parse them out one by one, and like one of them shows up, it's like, oh, look at this guy, that's new. Like in One Piece, there's a lot of different races. There's like giants and long arms and such and so. But generally, like most people are just like humans, you know. In this show, like half of the people are like green, and like people have wings and horns. And it's like half of the people, like one of the main cast, like the main 3 main characters, is just a big crocodile man. And they never explain it.
Yeah, he's just a crocodile with a spear wearing a big red apron. Like that's what he is.
And he's just from the tower. Like that's the thing about like the tower. The word tower makes you think that like this makes sense, but like no, actually everyone lives in the tower. They were like all born in the tower. No one went to the tower. They were just in a different part of the tower. and they have to start from the bottom floor, even though they may have been born on a higher floor, because the part of the higher floor that they were born on wasn't the part that was like doing the test. Like if you're on the 77th floor doing the test, you have to be an absolute badass. But like maybe the outside of the 77th floor is where the crocodile people live. We don't know.
Yeah, the really cool thing about Tower of God is you could point to any character on the screen and be like, what's his deal? And the correct answer is he's from the tower.
And like, what does he want? To climb the tower.
Yeah. But there are too many characters. Like even in the Hunter exam, like you had Killua and Gon were the focus, and then you had Hisoka, the murder clown pervert, and you had other characters that were sort of like standouts from the crowd. But the feel of the Tower of God anime is that every character is like important. So like the equivalent of that is, in the beginning of Hunter x Hunter, when Gon gets to the exam and that kid tries to give him diarrhea.
Yeah, he tries to give him diarrhea cola.
Yeah. In Tower of God, diarrhea cola kid never goes away, and you get to learn about
he's the
like
main part of the cast.
His family, who like they come from a long history of laxative craftsmen.
Yeah, and he's trying to climb the tower so he can make a wish to finally get rid of constipation forever.
Yes. So it's really like a shotgun of information. So the pacing is, I don't know, frantic. Like I don't want to say it's like fast in a way that is like good.
I think the best way to describe it is, as I said, it's an any percent speed run. Like it just needs to get to the finish line through whatever means possible. And technically, like I did beat the game, but like at what cost? Like I think like the way that it shakes out is that like you are able to follow the story and it's very engaging and interesting. But if you try to remember what happened 2 episodes ago, you're fucked. Like you just won't.
Yeah, I think a perfect example of this is in preparation for this episode, we were chatting about some tests, and I want to take a moment to talk about the Crown game.
God, this shit.
Which was a test they do, and we both watched it. We both definitely came away with radically different information about the rules of the Crown game and also like what happened. So we will now collaboratively try to combine our half knowledge and present to you what the test was.
So, like, the stated goal, which is never, like, the real thing is, like, you have to think through the ramifications of, like, what does this goal actually entail, is that there's a bunch of teams of 3, and 5 teams can go out at a time in 5 rounds, and there's a crown and a throne, and you want to sit on the throne wearing the crown.
Oh, not just sit. When you're wearing the crown, you cannot leave the throne.
Yeah, and so that you have to like have that for all the. Like, you have to be the last team in the last round to sit on the crown, to sit on the throne with the crown.
Yes,
that seems pretty simple. Except like all of the teams are immediately like, I understand the meta game of like which round to go out in, and this happens so often in anime where like someone will say something and someone will like cock their eyebrow and be like, so you mean, like, I understand, you mean that thing. And I'm like, what thing? I'm too dumb. I didn't get it. Like, I would immediately go out because I'd be like, I want a crown. I want the crown.
Yeah.
Give me the crown. And everyone's like, only an idiot would go out in the first round. I'm like, but why?
Yeah, you're telling me the strategy and I'm not even like clear on the rules yet.
Also, it's like, it's very unclear what kind of a test it is, because it's like, this is a bonus test. It's not a real test. And if you win, you get to go up the tower. And I'm like, isn't that the reward of the real tests?
Yes. This was very complicated. The most straightforward test, I think even more simple than the only 200 people left test, is that you and 2 homies have to go into a room that has a bunch of fucking doors. And then there's a timer for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something.
It's for 10 minutes.
Okay, it was 10 minutes. And then you have to pick a door, and if you pick right, you get to advance. So everyone's like, how do you figure out what fucking door to pick? And the trick is you just have to pick it fast, because if you pick any door after 5 minutes have gone by, so half the time, you fail. But any door you pick, if you pick quickly, is correct. So it's literally the test that rewards you having ADHD. And the crocodile is the reason they win, because they're trying to like think about what needs to happen. He's like, my brain doesn't work. I hate this.
Because Killua asked the test guy who's giving the test, like, are there any hints? And he's like, no, there are no hints. And like prior to that, like a guy outside is like, hey, have you noticed that like the people screaming to death because they're getting killed in the test all are dying after they've been in there for 5 minutes? Isn't that weird? And then the administrator of the test is like, there's no more hints. And Killua is just like, oh, fuck. No, there has to be a hint. There has to be something hidden in his wording. What could it possibly mean? And then, like, the fucking crocodile's just like, I'm bored, and kicks the door down. And it's like, and he's like, how did you pick that? What if you picked wrong? He's like, well, there were no hints. He said there were no hints, so we gotta guess.
Yeah, he was like, teacher said no hints, and I believed him.
And, like, this is part of a theme that I think is pretty wild, which is, like, the test administrators are very open that, like, part of what you're going to need to have if you're going to be a successful tower climber is that you got lucky.
Yes. Yes. And also all of the administrators were themselves people who climbed the tower, which I'm really unclear on. Like you get anything you want and then they make you get a shitty job.
I think it's like they got as high as they could, and they're like, next test is really hard. I'd like to pull a nice check.
Yeah, one of the administrators is just, again, Hisoka ripoff. Like, he's not a murder pervert, but he's a clown.
Exactly
he's a fucking clown.
He looks the same. Instead of having a star and a teardrop on his cheeks, they're just two, like, dots, but they're the same. He's the same.
He's got Mr. Mime face.
Exactly. He's like the nice one is the weird thing, but like he's on screen for so little time and with so much shit happening between his appearances that every time he shows up, I expect there to be like flamenco guitar starting and he's going to be like, oh, bam, I can't wait to kill you. I will achieve sexual satisfaction when I do that. But then he doesn't. That is really nice.
Yes. All the administrators don't seem to care if anyone ever climbs the tower. Like the people administrating the characters in Hunter x Hunter who were administrating the Hunter exam, like, clearly believed in the organization and, like, wanted to do good by it. And I'm pretty sure every character that is administrator, with the exception of the clown, is honestly sabotaging it. Like, they hate it.
And that's another reason that this show is so, like, it feels like such an any % speedrun, is because everyone has an ulterior motive. But, like, by the time they reveal they've betrayed whatever, it's like, I only knew about your real motive for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yes.
So, Joe, we mentioned that Shinsu, the sort of weird magical water that's everywhere, like, it's even the air. Like, air that you breathe in the tower is actually just very, very much diluted Shinsu. It gives you oxygen right to your lungs. Shinsu is Nen. And like in Hunter x Hunter, there are, like, specialties. But whereas in Hunter x Hunter, that was, like, different, like, flavors of, you know, Nen manipulation. What is it in Tower of God?
It's just fucking jobs.
Yes, you get a job. You have to train with a boss to learn the job.
Yeah, if you get past the door test, you get sorting hatted, kind of. Like, you basically... That's what happens. Like, the administrators decide what type of job you take. And the jobs, I gotta be honest, real uneven in terms of interestingness.
Yep.
Like, all of the Nen specialties are cool. Like, I'm like, oh, I could see how that would be really interesting. Like, because Bam's specialty in his job is, we call it a water whoosher. You can shoot Shinzu, but what is it actually called?
It's called a wave controller. It's the person who is actually, like, manipulating Shinsu in, like, big amounts to the point where they can, like, shoot a beam of it. We call it water whoosher because it's much more funny.
Yes. That just, I would say, is the most interesting thing because Bam picks it up early and then you see other people struggling with it because it's very difficult. There is one character who I fucking love who's, like, an unbelievably good water whoosher, but he's just like a sleepy guy.
Oh yeah, he built himself. He's constantly in a cocoon of blankets, and he's sleeping 100% of the time. Like every time he's on a team with someone, they're like, "Oh shit, we're gonna win for sure because we got this guy." And then the test starts, and he won't wake up.
Yeah, but then like when he does, he'll like just shoot a huge Kamehameha of water,
awesome.
and then he'll go to sleep.
Killua's job is that he's a computer boy. They give him a big cube with a gaming PC inside of it.
Yes, so all of the computer boy jobs, you say cube, but let's like actually say what it is. You are gifted a dimensional computer room that floats, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like you can stand, like it's a physical object. You can stand on it and float on it.
Yes, and like how they're supposed to be used is like they're supposed to be like the eyes and ears and the tacticians.
Yeah, they can see everything, hear everything, communicate with all the people on their team, and also use Google.
Yes. That's honestly not as good as like shooting blasts. Not bad though.
Then there is a class that is extremely redundant and silly when you have guys who can shoot a beam of Shinsu, which is the spear bearer.
Yeah, which is just like a guy who throws spears. And like I wasn't sure if spear bearer was like a cool name that sounded reductive. But no, it's actually just a guy who throws spears. The crocodile guy, he loves to throw spears.
He's got a spear.
Yeah,
he threw
he
it.
brought his own.
He brought it from home.
Yeah, and the test they do, I don't want to give anything away, but they have to throw the spear.
You have to hit a target with it. Then there's the class, which is the homie class, which is the scouts. These are the homies.
Yeah.
They are homies. The main scout that we follow is a guy who wears a tracksuit and has no skills.
Yeah, he's just a guy. He kind of sucks. He also is not like that excited about the tower. Like,
yeah,
he's doing it because like what else do you do? Because it's the fucking tower world. But
yeah, what was he gonna do in fucking like Serbia or wherever he came from with that tracksuit?
Yes,
nothing. He's got to go to the tower.
He has a tracksuit and he can't fight. There is like one part where like in the Crown game, he's like, I'll take these two people, and like he just like pushes a woman down and kicks her in the head, and then like someone else just like hits him in the back of the head with a stick, and like that's all the fighting he's ever done.
And then like the test that you have to take to become a scout is they give you a piece of paper with 10 lines on it, and they say you have to make 10 friends. You have to get 10 people sign this saying that they're your friend, because like as a scout you got to be a homie.
Yeah, and of course Bam's whole thing is that he's an anime protagonist and everyone wants to hang out with him all the time. So he basically gets all of the scouts.
He does his homework for him.
Yes. Yeah, Bam does the homework for all the scouts by making them all friends.
And then the final class is Fisherman, which is very confusingly named because it's just the melee fighters. It's just the guys who punch good.
Yeah. But like Crocodile guy is also good at swinging the spear, but I guess it doesn't count.
I don't know, like, it's unclear how, like, do you get yelled at if you go outside your class?
Yes, that's the other thing, because, like, Nen had, like, explicit rules where it was, like, you should pick a ability and, like, hone it, because if you try to do too many things, you only have so much potential. So, like, you could actually, like, spread yourself too thin and have many powers that are ultimately ineffective. That hasn't really been stated.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any equivalent there.
It's really hard to tell. It definitely is not fucking clear in the anime. But, yeah, that's a lot of there's a lot of rules to this power system, and they get shoved into, like, an episode and a half. It's kind of awesome.
Yes.
Joe, I think we got to talk about our main character, Bam, now. We've obliquely mentioned him and how he's gone, but we need to talk about him specifically, because he is an interesting character, because he is like the only person who didn't live in the tower. He grew up outside the tower, which we're like, oh, I wonder what that is. We're only ever shown a fucking single background, which is a big cave.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of dirt. Like, he showed up one day looking like a caveman with no memory.
And he got into the tower from outside, which is supposed to be impossible. And the way he did it is it just fucking happened by accident, I guess. And his deal is that while he was outside, he met a girl, and I hesitate to use a word that is often used in sort of a derogatory and misogynist way, but it's the only word for it. He simps for this girl. He's the biggest simp in the universe.
Yeah, like he's the only person that doesn't care about the tower. He like just wants to get to the tower because that's where Rachel is going to be.
Yeah, his buddy Rachel, his good friend who he simps for, is like, she's like, "Bam, there's a tower, and I'll tell you what, I want more than anything to go up this tower. One day I'm gonna do it." And then one day she does it, and she's like, "Bam, don't follow me, because going up the tower is hard and not for you." And he's like,
Well, there's nothing else to do in the dirt cave, so I guess I will try.
So I believe that possibly. I don't want to speak too soon because the show might get into this later. It could be that the source of his unprecedented potential as a Shinsu user is because he is the first ever non-horny simp.
Yeah, he would never touch a boob, like ever. He's following her because she might come across a puddle so he can put his jacket down.
Yeah. And she, like, when she sees him in the tower, she is, like, devastated because she was very explicit, like, "Please don't follow me."
Yeah. It wasn't like, "Oh, if you love me, you'll find me." No, she's like, "Fucking this, I said no."
Like, please, no. And a lot of times in anime, you'll see that there are characters who, like, have a resentment for the main character, and they let it fester, and it turns them, like, sour and upset, and, like, twists them into a dark caricature of what they used to be because they see someone else achieving with such ease something that they want even more than them and are working even harder to get but just can't. A lot of the times it's very contrived. In this show, it makes perfect sense because Bam is, like, an actual baby and is like, "Golly, I just want to hang out with my buddy Rachel." And Rachel's like, "Go away."
Yeah, but then Bam also, like, trips and does everything Rachel ever wanted to do on accident.
Like, I made this observation, but it's like Bam is Homer Simpson and Rachel is Frank Grimes.
Yes.
And that's the whole show.
Absolutely.
Except that, like, take out all the parts where Frank Grimes is mad that Homer's incompetent, and instead it's just the scene where he sees Homer's house and he sees the picture of Homer in space, and he's like, "You've been to space?" And Homer, like, with absolutely no malice, just pure concern, is like, "Oh, you've never been?"
Yes. It's just the Homer Grimes dynamic. And she rightfully resents him eventually because you get a good flashback of him getting triple S rank by being a dumb baby and everything while she is forced to watch him succeed.
And, like, the administrators of the tower are all like, "Oh, you know Bam. That sucks because he's really good at this and you're so bad."
Yep. There wasn't... That dynamic didn't really happen in Hunter x Hunter. Like, Gon and Killua were both freaks with high potential, but they were both kids, so they were still, like, outclassed by adults who have experience and, like, nen powers. In this, that seems like a unique dynamic. That it's not a total copy.
And, like, definitely there was no Rachel analog in Hunter x Hunter. Like, imagine if, like, Kurapika, the entire time they were hanging out, was just, like, secretly hoping that, like, Gon would choke on a chicken wing. Yes. And, like, he was like, "Gon, I'm going to York New City. The one thing I don't want you to fucking do is come and call me on the phone." And he's like, "Gonna do that. Will do that. Just you wait." Like, no, they're all buds.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about how this is like a speed run, very hyper concentrated version of Hunter x Hunter where shit like it's incredibly dense with characters and plot and exposition and twists. Like, they happen in such fast succession. It's crazy.
Yeah, in order for a twist to work, the viewer needs to have expectations and they need to be subverted. Definitely, as I've watched this, a twist has happened and I'm like, well, I don't know what's happening. So
Yeah, like I didn't even understand the setup.
Yeah, it's like
Like I was still, I needed like another 2 scenes of that to sort of be like, oh, good.
I felt like a dog watching TV. It was just just all pure information.
Yeah. So when we were going to do this, when you sort of pitched, let's do a Tower of God segment, I was like, cool. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to say because I really don't remember much of anything. So what I decided to do to refresh my memory was start reading the original webtoon that it's based on. And Joe, I know now why the 13 episodes of anime seem so jammed-packed, because I want to ask you a question. How many chapters of comic do you think the 13 episodes adapted?
I'm going to double it. I'm going to say there were 26 chapters.
Oh, Joe, no. The 13 episode season of Tower of God adapts 80 chapters.
Fuck.
80.
So,
Oh, man.
I'm guessing the comics don't have that breakneck speed feeling, or no? Or what? How do they ever give details about what's happening?
Yeah, a fucking ton. Like, it's very clear. Everyone's motivations are much more sort of set out, and the relationship building seems a lot more normal and believable. Like, there's one character who's like one of the princesses. Like, the king of the tower has princesses that are actually just like powerful girls that he decides to make his like trophy slaves. They just sort of sit around and have his last name but don't do anything. One of the characters is one of those princesses, and she's sort of like a main character in like the last 3 episodes, and it's like very easy to just forget her because like the first half of the series she doesn't show up or do anything, and then she's there for a little bit and she's like, I'm the main character for this part, and I'm like, but why? And then like Bam's the main character again. I'm like, what happened to that other girl?
This is the one that gives Bam the sword and then he loses it.
No, this is she also is barely in the anime. No, I'm talking about Endorsi, the girl who is just kind of normal.
Yeah, because there's another princess who's got a lizard tail.
Yeah, she green. Yeah, it's easy to remember her because she green. No, the other one who's just normal, she sort of has like orange eyeshadow. Do you even remember her?
She wanted a sword, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, you're getting it. Yeah, no, she's like actually a character in the actual manga. It's wild. Like it moves at the right pace. I didn't think it was possible. I thought this was just the way Tower of God was. No, it's just that they were like, we don't know if we're gonna get a season 2, and there's no stopping point until chapter 80. So we gotta get there. And again, it's a fucking any percent speedrun. They're just like, do what we have to fucking do to get to the revelation in chapter 80. And any means necessary.
I don't like pull my hair out too much when there's a rough adaptation or whatever. And I certainly wasn't going to read the source material until you suggested I do it. I saw online people were like, this is like not the best adaptation. And I was like, well, I love it. It kicks ass. I don't know what's going on, but I love it. Mm-hmm. And based on what you're telling me, it sounds like it's because they try to put too much shit in 6 hours.
For real. Like, all the plot points, all of, like, the major plot points are there, but just, like, there's so much shit in between of people, like, talking and being like, you know what? I have a motivation, and here's what it is. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and here's my plan. I'm going to do that later, and you know why I'm going to do it. Because I told you. And they just cut that out. They take that out of the anime. They don't have it anymore.
Yeah, there was a character's death, suicide. Basically, the character was feeling desperate and threw their life away. This is the person with the one horn. And I'm going to be honest with you, Tom. I don't know why. Like, that character held Rachel at knife point, and the reason being it was unclear to me. Was it to make Bam angry, or was that just like a secondary thing?
So, okay, in the fucking comic, in the source material, it's very clearly shown that that person is slipped a note by some mystery person saying, you have to like kill Rachel, and it'll stop Bam from going up the tower, and then you'll go up the tower. Because they were like both in the same position. They both were water wishers, and only a set number of them could pass. So if one of them dies, well, then there's fewer people to take the slots.
Yeah.
So he's like, I better do that. And it's like there's a lot of information about like who wrote that note. How did it get there? What is the motivation of the person who would give that note? And like Kun, who's Killua, like finds the note and it's like, oh shit, like I'm gonna use this knowledge to fucking inform what I do, and this is gonna change my plans. I'm gonna use this. In the fucking anime, we see a note, and the guy opens it and it says, "Do you want to climb the tower?"
Like,
and he's just like, "Ooh, I do." And then he like turns it over, and we never see what's on the other side. And then he holds Rachel at knife point. And then like Bam's like, "Please don't do that." And he's like, "You're right. This is pretty evil." And then stabs himself. And it's like, huh? What?
Yeah, but then in the anime, everyone like acted like they knew about this guy a lot.
Yeah, because in the fucking comic, he's there a lot, and he like is in all the crowd scenes where they're talking. He's talking with them, and they have sort of like shades of him, despite him having a good time with his friends. Like he has like a deep pain that like he can't get over, and even having a good time with buddies, he still is a desperate and unstable man who wants nothing more than to get up the tower, but still at the same time is starting to realize that like he just doesn't have what it takes to get up the tower.
Yeah,
and he's like,
in the anime, they're either taking a test or they're at the cafeteria.
Yep, one of two things.
Yeah.
And like Joe, after the, I'm not going to spoil too much, but I will say that after part 1, the 80 chapters or 13 episodes, there's a huge fucking time skip, and everything gets extremely different. And the next time we cut in, we're on the 20th floor of the tower. The entire season fucking 1 was on floor number 2, and we start in after the time skip on the 20th floor. And so I got to tell you about the most fucking the first test that you see is just the most brain fucking melting shit in the universe. It just makes no fucking sense, and I can't understand it. I read the entire thing, like it's over now where I'm at. The test stopped. And I have no fucking clue what it is or how you would do it. Like if I was in that test, I would just start crying.
Can you just try? Because like this isn't the comic, so in theory this is it with a right amount of details and pacing, and you're still like this.
The anime version is going to be just like, it may as well be static. There's just like images that you cannot possibly parse meaning from. Anyway, so it's called The Room That Can Be Trusted. So there's like 16 guys who have passed some other test that was actually really easy to understand, but like actually that test wasn't the test at all. It was just the test to set up this test. It was just a fake.
Why can't they do the room that can't be trusted off screen? Why can't they do the simple one with the focus?
I don't know, dude. So here's what's happening. You're all in rooms to like spend the night, and then there's another test tomorrow, except it's not. This is the test. And so there's 16 people in 8 rooms on 2 floors, and each person, each room has 2 people in it. And then they're like, uh-oh, everyone's locked in. Now here's the test. Everyone has a remote control that has 2 USB connectors. That's one is for each of you, and they're signed to you. And the doors are locked, and you can choose to open the door, but only one of you can leave the room. If you both leave the room, you forfeit your room.
Wait, is this an escape room?
No. That would make more sense, because you can open the door at any time. So what you want to do is you want to have a team of 7 people and 6 rooms. You want the team to own 6 rooms. And in order to own a room, I think you have to enter a room and stick your USB into their remote, and then you have the room. Except when you do that, you could also choose to press the other button on their remote, which steals their room, and then they can't have the room anymore. And but like you can't leave the room, but like, you can't open the door. Like you have to press the button to open the door, but then that's how they steal your room.
So this is like 16 people doing the prisoner dilemma at once.
Yeah, except that also at the same time, Bam is just like having a Dragon Ball Z fight with like the administrator in like a completely different area, and then also like someone gave a girl the diarrhea cola, except it was actually possession cola. like I drank this drink, and then like a big green slug went inside of her and took her over. It was very, like, and half the people in the test, which I don't know how they got up to the 20th floor, like half the people are like civilian babies. Like one of them is an actual like 5-year-old, and like they have no powers, and they're like trying to figure out this room shit, and then everyone else is like, one guy pretends to be dead for part of it, and then like gets back up and is like, I tricked you, I double crossed you, I wanted you to think I was dead. And I'm like, does this mean that he has the room now? And he's like, oh, it was because he wanted to see where the guy had hidden the remote, so he got the remote out because he thought the guy was dead. But he's like, now I see your remote. And I'm like, well, how does this help you?
Are there 2 teams competing?
It's infinite teams. It's any amount of teams. Like, you can, if you get someone's room, they're on your team.
How do you lose?
You lose when someone else has a big enough team. Except, well, no. How do you, is every team assigned to a room? Like, if you are in a room, is any team that has your room, is that your team? It's so fucking complicated. Like, this is why I say, like, if I was in a room and these rules were explained to me, what I would do is just, like, start crying. I'd be like, well, I'm done. Fuck, I can't do this. This is complicated.
I would do the pretend to be dead thing, but like without a plan. That's not. That's on brand for the whole narrative, because in the anime, before it ends, there's this like competition where 2 teams have to like compete against one of the administrators. Which, that itself isn't even the confusing part. The confusing part is that on both teams, people are not going to be able to proceed to the next level based on who passes or fails. So the not Killua is like intentionally sabotaging or pushing the rival team to win under circumstances so he can like get who he wants to advance. And
God,
I literally have no fucking clue like where people were at points wise.
He like engineers this crazy scenario where like a lot of like where like they just barely don't win, but it was on purpose. Like he could have had them win, but he just wanted a certain number of people to like do well enough and then lose, so that the other, because like if their team won first, the other team wouldn't have a chance to win. And that was the team that Bam was on. He's like, Bam needs that push over the edge and points, so his team has to win. But then when their team goes, like there's like 3 or 4 other betrayals that Killua didn't plan for that fuck up his plan entirely. But then at the end he's like, all according to plan, everything went great. And then there's like
someone died. like
well, that was the guy who stabbed himself. He was doing his own thing.
Yeah, but like you can't say that was part of the plan. He didn't know any of that shit was gonna happen.
Jesus Christ! Like like I'm just marveling at the sheer number of plot points that are just whizzing by here, and the fact that they got it into, again, 6 hours.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's well communicated. It's definitely fun to watch, but like gun to my head, if you had to, like, here's a question I don't have an answer for. How many floors are in the tower? I don't know.
Oh, a lot. Like a fucking lot, dude. Here's a question for you. Do you remember what the sheep guy's deal was?
No. The sheep guy is, as far as I can tell, he's a pervert. There's a character who is, I think he is like an envoy of the king that lives at the top of the tower who has the princesses. But all that shit doesn't matter. What matters is what he looks like. And what he looks like is like a big sheep with no arms.
And he's wearing like Converse on his skinny legs.
Yeah, and he's like very powerful, but the only thing he does is open his mouth and shoot lasers. Like he has no arms. Like he might have arms under the wool, but he only runs around in his Converse.
Like, it's wild that, like, that fucking, that part of the arc with the sheep guy is, like, so intense. And it's, like, really long and very well paced. And you really feel, like, the pressure of this sheep guy, like, and how he's threatening our heroes and, like, what his deal is in the comic. And again, I asked you, what's the sheep guy's deal? You rightly don't fucking know. How could you?
Yeah, the stakes are high. You can tell that. Just don't ask me what the stakes are. I just know the sheep guy has a lot of opinions. And yeah, and then eventually he gets smushed.
Yeah, oh, it owns. Yeah, he gets smushed and green goo comes out. We've been ragging on this show. We got to wrap this segment up pretty soon. We've been ragging on this show, but we got to make it clear. It's so good. Like, it's so good. Like, these are the same problems that Hunter x Hunter has, where it's, like, stupid and convoluted, and then make a lot of sense. But at the same time, it makes, like, a lot of sense, but, like, you really have to work to get to the sense, if you get my meaning.
Yes, yeah. You know how, like, there was that period on VH1 and stuff where they play movies, and then there would be, like, little pop-up things about the movie?
Yes, pop-up video.
Yes, I hated that shit. Wouldn't mind it for this... so when the sheep guy shows up, I have some information.
Here's another thing, just to wrap up. A big sort of meme around the entire fandom is hating Rachel. We hate Rachel. Rachel's a B word. I want Rachel to die. I want to see her get killed on screen. Did you get that impression? Like, is that where you're at with her character?
No, my take is... if I didn't want Bam to follow me, and then he did, and then proceeded to do everything better than me, I would be upset. I don't think that reaction seems unhinged. I think it's a rational response.
If I was finally attempting my life's dream, and this sort of like weird subverbal ape simp just sort of tagged along against my wishes and then just like aced every single test when I was like getting C's. I'd be mad.
And think about this also from Rachel's perspective. Like, what does Rachel want? Rachel wants Bam to leave her alone. What does Bam want? Bam wants to be with Rachel. Well, the problem with Bam is that he succeeds at everything he does. So
he's hyper confident. Yeah,
he is not respecting your privacy because he's going to follow you. He's going to get a triple S rank in stalking you. He's gonna win.
And if you ever say to anyone else, like, I'd really like Bam not to hang around, they're gonna be like, but he's delightful.
Oh yeah, like there's like one scene where like she just has to watch everyone at the cafeteria be like, Bam, you're amazing. Anyone who doesn't like you is actually the devil.
Oh my god. One thing that I do want to bring up just briefly, and I'm not going to get too into it because like other people have said it, but it's an interesting thing that I don't want to let pass by, is that the fact that like this is a Korean originating story, and I don't know a lot about fucking South Korea, shocker. But I did see Parasite, and honestly, the Tower and God and Parasite are the fucking same, except the only difference is the rich family, instead of having money, has powers. That's the same fucking thing. Because the whole thing about Tower of God is like everyone, if you want to do anything with your life, you have to climb the tower. Climbing the tower is brutally unfair and will kill you, and is you just basically need luck to get by. But at the same time, no, like, because if you come from a top family, you just are better at Shinsu than everyone else, and you're gonna win. And if you're a nobody, you just can't climb the tower, but you have to do it anyway. And in the process of climbing the tower, you are going to betray your friends. You are going to leave behind all your ideals. You are going to become the person you hate. You are going to become a hollowed out husk of yourself who is going through the motions because you have to. And the only people who get anything good are the people who were born already great at fucking tower.
Yeah. And also, like, all the bad things about the betrayal are baked into the system because the king or whatever clearly thinks it's funny. Yeah.
And, you know, like, the fact that outside the tower is, like, no one even conceives of there being an outside of the tower. They're like, I've been in the tower my whole life. There isn't an outside. And, like, the times that we actually see outside of the tower is just, like, a like 6 foot by 6 foot cube of dirt underground, and it's like that's all, and it's never expanded upon ever, even in the fucking comic. In the comic, outside of the tower is just like, it's dirt, there's dirt, and it's dark and it's dirt, and Bam lives there.
Yeah, also outside the tower was literally just like under the floor of the tower.
Yeah. But like, Joe, you think about that, doesn't that feel a lot like fucking cogdom? Doesn't it feel like there isn't an outside of shoving your body into the capitalist machine and hoping it spits out enough money for you to live, and the only people who can survive and thrive are the people who were born rich? Doesn't it feel the same? Doesn't it feel like the idea of thinking of a world outside of that is simply impossible? Like you can't even conceive of it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting observation. Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode. Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode. Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode. Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode.
You know how Tim Robinson is addicted to skeletons and saying dripping hogs?
Yes, I do know that, Joe. It's inescapable.
All the time. I love to talk about it. I found out what your skeleton was. Your skeleton is bad rapping.
Like, yeah, baby. Bad rapping is so fucking funny. Because, like, have you ever tried to rap? You'll really quickly come up to the fact that it's so hard. Like, it's really fucking hard. And in order to get good at it, you have to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the thing about bad rapping is that it's someone who's just like, nah, not gonna do that. This is fine. And like
the best example of it, I think, in any media is the Mr. Show sketch, where there's like a rap battle at the end of a camp.
Yeah, 2 summer camps.
Yeah, and fucking Bob Odenkirk wins the rap battle by just going rap, 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 rappity, rap, rap,
Rippity, rap, rap.
Yeah, and then the other guy's just like, God, his rhymes are so fresh.
Yeah, the rich kid camp gets a ringer, an actual rapper who like lays down a competent verse, and then Bob Odenkirk's like, I can't measure up, and they're like, no, you're our only hope. You have to do this. If you don't win, they're gonna close the camp. We believe in you. And he just rap, a rippity rap, a rip, rap, rippity rap, and like the real rapper is just like shaking his head and like, damn, he got me.
Yeah, he vaporized me.
It's so fucking funny. Like, I did in one of the newsletters, and if you're not subscribed to the Anime Sickos newsletter, gosh, it's so funny. You really should. It's at animesickos.substack.com. In one of the newsletters, I shared 2 of my favorite songs of all time. Lou Reed's the original rapper. Lou Reed from the Velvet Underground, who is an old Jewish man who loves the deli, who decided to rap. Did it very poorly. I love it. And then Funky Man by Dee Ramone, who is a guy who plays the bass very poorly in a band that sucks. And he decided to quit the band and instead rap. And he did that even worse than he did playing the bass. That's the best shit in the world. It just is like candy to me. As you say, it is to me as bones are to Tim Robinson, because it just betrays a fundamental like misunderstanding of how the world works in the mind of the person who is like willingly publishing this. They're thinking like, this rules. I am so cool. Because like that's a big part of rap, is that it's about presenting an image of you as someone who is cool. If you're rapping well, you're a bad, like that's why so much rap is just about how good of a rapper the rapper is. Like the lyrics are just like, I'm good at rapping. Other people who rap are not as good at rapping as I am. And it works because you believe, like, they're so good at that image that you believe it. You're like, damn, this person is cool. They are good at rapping.
That's the only musical genre where, like, that works. Like, you can't do a ska song about how you ska better.
We are a very good ska band. I remember in fucking college, I took a poetry class because I was required to for my stupid major. And the professor was like, all poems have a meaning. They all are trying to express something. That is a requirement for good poetry. You cannot have a poem that's just about how good a poet you are. And I'm like, I beg to differ. Have you listened to any rap?
Right.
Anyway, all this is to say, it not even is to say, this is just a funny story I want to tell. One time, I was hanging around. My wife had one of her high school friends over visiting Chicago. Honestly, a great person, one of the nicest people I've ever met. She's a fucking shining star. We love her. Always great to hang out with her. And she is like so earnest and sincere and caring of a person, not a malicious bone in her body. While we were just walking around, I did a goof where I did a bad rap as like a joke. and it was this, Joe. It was, my name is insert name here, and I'm here to say insert what I'm here to say here in a major way.
Yeah, the perfect template for the fake bad rap.
Exactly. When I had finished this, my wife gave the correct response, which was a mild chuckle and then move on.
Yeah, because you do this every day.
Yes. Her friend looked at me like I had just like come up with E=mc² for the first time on my own and was like, did you just think that up now?
Did you think she was like about to bully you unbelievably hard?
She was like making a spirit bomb of bullying energy. Like I'd be like, oh yeah. And she'd be like, well, that's because you're a fucking idiot, dummy. For a second I did feel that, but then I just like looked in her eyes and she was like, honest, like it was the look that you get, that like a mother gets when like their 3-year-old makes an actual joke for the first time. It's like, oh my God, you came up with it. Except without any of the condescend. Like, she was just like legitimately very proud of me.
She was excited for your growth. Like, you did macaroni art and it's going on the fridge.
And I had to be like, well, actually, it's pretty dumb. It was definitely an experience I'll never forget. Bad rapping is so fucking funny. God, send me some bad raps, please.
I've actually 180'd on it because I couldn't do it for the longest time because I can't watch things where someone like bombs or does a shitty job. Like I can't, it doesn't sit well with me. But I feel like that is slowly worn away by knowing you. Only in the context of bad rap. Like, I feel like I have been able to borrow some of your enthusiasm for it, where it no longer makes me want to die.
My name's the Bad Rapper, and I'm here to say I'm wearing down Joe in a rapping way.
That's where it ends.
Yup. That's been Anime Sickos for this week. Thank you all for listening to our dumb show that is also for geniuses and the only podcast. I have been Tom, an anime sicko.
I'm Joe, an anime sicko.
We'll see you next time. Subscribe to our newsletter. Also, this is something that I've meant to say for a while, but I've forgotten every time. So I'm going to say it now. I know, because I see the stats, that there are people outside of the US and Canada who listen to this show. I don't know, like, why? How? How did it happen? How did it happen? If you are outside of the US right now and you're listening to this show, please, like, write to us at animesickos@gmail.com and tell us, like, how did that happen?
Yeah, and also, I don't want to be weird, but can we live with you?
Yeah, we hate this fucking country. It's the worst country on earth. It's so bad. I want to defect. Like, I wish there was a Soviet Union I could defect to. There's no country that I can defect to. Also, I don't have any state secrets, so they wouldn't take me. But I wish I could do it.
Yeah, other countries aren't really, like, seeing your paperwork and being like, oh, this guy's a podcaster.
Ooh, he's read all of Kengan Ashura. Wow, that's a lot of manga to have read.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.